Good day everyone, my name is Summerson Sikising from St. Mary's University. The title of my critic paper is Multimedia Mathematics, a critique on unveiling the impact on anxiety and motivation. The paper title is The Effect of Teaching Using Multimedia on Mathematics, Anxiety, and Motivation. The authors Bargamadi S. and Yafjan N. in 2022. So the issue on this critic paper is the proper preliminaries before and after employing multivariate analysis of covariance or MANCOVA. This critic paper aims to evaluate the study's research design, methodology, data analysis, overall contribution to the field, and the statistical part. This discusses the good things that the researchers have done in their research as well as the things that they should improve. Most importantly, this critic paper discusses things in terms of the multivariate statistics and things that are relevant to advanced multivariate statistics. For the article summary, the researchers' objective in their research is to investigate the effect of teaching using multimedia on mathematics, anxiety, and motivation in mathematics by employing a quasi-experimental method with pre-test and post-test design. The first class were labeled as the experimental group, where they were aware of the research and expressed their willingness to collaborate and participate in the research. They were the ones who were given intervention for the multimedia. The other class was labeled as control group. They were the ones who were exposed to conventional teaching. The researchers have used an adapted questionnaire for mathematical anxiety and a self-made questionnaire for mathematical motivation that was validated by experts through phase and content validity, reliable based on the pilot tests that were analyzed through Cronbach Alpha. After taking the same pretest for both experimental and control group, the multimedia intervention was then given to the experimental group and conventional learning to the control group. The researchers then gave the same post-test to both groups after the lesson. To analyze the data, inferential and descriptive statistics method were employed. At the descriptive level, indicators such as mean and standard deviation were used by the researchers, and at the inferential level and multivariate analysis of covariance was used. The data collection method was based on a quasi-experimental research design of the pre-test post-test design with the control group, and there were two dependent variables to prevent bias and eliminate the effect of pre-test, and multivariate analysis of covariance was used to analyze the data. Before they have used the MANCOVA test, the researchers have satisfied the presumptions of this test such as normality of data, equality of variances, homogeneity of variance covariance matrices, and homogeneity of regression slope. The results of multivariate analysis of covariance for the effect of multimedia teaching on math anxiety and students' math motivation shows that by controlling the pretest, the significant level of all tests are less than 0.05 and even less than 0.01. The researchers then investigated the effect of multimedia training on each of their dependent variables in response to the second and third hypothesis of their research using a univariate analysis of covariance on post-test means with pretest control in the control and experimental groups. According to the pretest, there is a significant difference between the means of the mathematical anxiety in the experimental and control groups in the post-test. Also, their pretest shows that there is a significant difference between the mean score of mathematical motivation of experimental and control group in the pretest. With the positive result of the study of the researchers, they have then forwarded a recommendation with similar studies but different course and grades. Also, they suggested that the effect of this method be investigated on other effective aspects of the teaching learning such as the emotional. Thus, the result shows that teaching using multimedia systems increases the mathematical motivation of 7th grade students and reduces their mathematical anxiety. When new teaching media such as PowerPoint slides, animation, educational video, GeoGebra, software, manipulative and educational videos, and other educational media are used while teaching, students learn the lessons better by intuitive observation and understanding. Students' contribution and enthusiasm had reduced their anxiety about math lessons and created a dynamic and energetic environment for better education. For the analysis and insights about the study, we start with the introduction. The researchers clearly stated in their introduction that the effect domain in teaching is being lesser known factor, most especially in teaching mathematics. One of these effective factors that interfere with mathematical achievements is the mathematical anxiety, where they cited enough related literature, most especially in its negative impact. The introduction effectively sets the stage by outlining the significance of mathematics anxiety and its potential consequences for individuals' academic and professional success. However, it could benefit from providing more context on the historical development of the concept and discussing different theoretical perspectives that have been proposed to explain mathematics anxiety. In terms of the multimedia, the researchers effectively introduced the importance of addressing mathematics anxiety and motivation in educational setting and justifies the use of multimedia as a teaching tool. It provides a clear rationale for the study and outlines the specific research questions. However, it could benefit from a more comprehensive research of existing literature on the effectiveness of multimedia in mathematics education and its potential impact on education effective outcomes. The literature review offers a broad overview of existing research on mathematics anxiety, covering various theoretical frameworks and empirical studies. However, it would be supported by critically evaluating the methodological approaches used in these studies and discussing any inconsistencies or gaps in the findings. The researchers have mentioned that there were so many studies involving mathematical anxiety, but the only gap they mentioned is that there are no same researches that happened in Iran as a setting. Additionally, more emphasis could be placed on recent improvement in the field and emerging areas of review. For the questionnaire, the researchers have used the Mathematical Anxiety Questionnaire from Ferguson Questionnaire in 1986, including the Internal Research Questionnaire in Iran. Integrating the Internal Research Questionnaire in Iran is a great move from the researchers since their respondents are from their country. However, it is best if the sample questionnaire were part of the published paper for a more comprehensive critiquing in that part. For the researchers to address the motivation part, the researchers have constructed a self-made questionnaire. Both questionnaires were being measured in a Likert scale. The good thing about here is they followed protocols in a self-made questionnaire where it must be face and content validated by expert and tested its reliability by pilot test. To further improve this part, it is better if they have mentioned where they conducted the pilot testing to see if these groups of students are similar to the grade 7 respondents of their study. In the questionnaire part, the researchers showed dedication in discussing the exploratory factor analysis or the EFA, which is very crucial in understanding how the underlying structure of mathematics anxiety and motivation was explored and identified. Details on the EFA were properly discussed, including the outliers, index of KMO and Bartlett. The use of EFA when method effect exists in the data can produce misleading results. That is, can yield additional factors that are not substantially meaningful, but instead stem from artifacts of measurements. For the statistical tool that was used, MANCOVA was used as the statistical tool for this study. The statistical tool is appropriate because MANCOVA is being employed to determine the difference between the independent and dependent variables and which of the determinants significantly affect the dependent variables, that is according to Retutas and Rubio in 2021. This is the same with Fisher in 2009, where she stated that multivariate analysis of covariance or the MANCOVA allows for the inclusion of covariates in the model. Pairwise comparison of estimated marginal means were analyzed for significant between subject effects to determine how different levels of the independent variables affected levels of the dependent variable. The causal comparison research design is the best approach to be used for comparing two or more groups to find the difference or determine whether the independent variable influences dependent variable. That is according to Hussein in 2019. Also, the use of a two-way factorial MANCOVA will provide a rich content to explore the phenomenon under investigation from Goodale 2021. Proper method was used also for experimental research by employing the pre-test, intervention, and post-test. The paper gave a detailed process on how they have conducted the research, which is a great thing that the researchers have done. It is commendable also that before employing MANCOVA tests, all the assumptions of these tests were checked. Prior to all univariate and multivariate analysis, data were screened for outliers and all relevant assumptions were satisfied. The use of scale variable as dependent variable and categorical variable as the independent variable satisfies the MANCOVA assumption. BAX-M test was appropriately used by the researchers in checking the homogeneity of variance matrices. BAX-M test is a statistical test used to assess the homogeneity of covariance matrices across the different groups or conditions in multivariate analysis. With all of these conditions satisfied, they now employed MANCOVA tests where the values of Pillai's trace, Wilkens lambda, Hotelling's trace, and Roy's largest root test are lower than 0.05, which leads them to identify that there is a significant difference between the control and experimental group. The application of multivariate analysis of covariance or the MANCOVA can assist researchers in actualizing the objective of estimating the effect of the variables, that is according to Badum 2022. Thus, the MANCOVA is for the better analysis of result of this study. These findings of the researchers about the significant difference is backed up by the statement having a computed value of less than 0.05 for Pillai's trace, which will make the result significant. Thank you very much, and that is all for my critic paper.